Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back from the ad break. You are still watching Prime Life. Now, we are honored to welcome back Norleen Zulu, who is an early childhood development specialist, to discuss a vitally important topic, mental health or mental illness in children. Now, Norleen brings her expertise in identifying and understanding and supporting children's mental health, a subject that deserves increased attention and awareness. Now, as we explore this topic, Noreen's insight will provide valuable guidance for parents, educators, and anyone invested in ensuring the mental health and well-being of our children. Thank you so much for joining us, Norleen, on Prime Life, and welcome back. Can you please unmute yourself?
Okay. Thank you so much for having me back.
You are welcome. Let's just jump straight into it. Please tell us about, the most common signs and symptoms of mental illness in children that parents and educators can look out for.
So, obviously, the signs that you are looking out for are behavioral signs. So, changes in their mood swings, withdrawing from activities that they would normally participate in, not wanting to engage with their peers, going across their appetite change, not wanting to eat, sleeping a lot more, always presenting with headaches or sore stomachs. So it's a lot of physiological changes that you will see in your child, being very withdrawn, being aggressive, throwing tantrums, and just not being a child that you can handle.
Mm. And how do factors like family dynamics, social relationships, and early experiences impact the development of mental illness in children?
So the family dynamics will always affect a child. If a child is coming out of a positive home where there's lots of support, lots of love, children thrive and they develop optimally. And the opposite is true. If there are adverse behaviors going on, so if there's fights or if your child is just exposed to a negative environment, it affects them mentally, and that will definitely affect their mental well-being. Being exposed to negative emotions constantly is like being a fish in dirty water.
Mm, most definitely. And what strategies or resources can parents and educators use to support children who may be struggling with mental health issues?
So there's a lot of strategies to incorporate. Firstly, I think as a parent, you would want to yourself become aware of what challenges your child is going through, and then once you have a lot of knowledge on the condition, you know exactly how to handle it. So knowledge of the mental illness that the child has, and then incorporating coping techniques for the children. So depending on what your child is presenting with, there's a lot of techniques that help with them. Also getting professional help, so going into see therapists and psychologists, that helps. Some children need to be medicated, so seeing your doctors as well will help you, as well as living a healthy lifestyle, so having healthy habits, regular exercise, going for walks, that helps children, and a very healthy diet. What we put in does affect our mind. So for example, omega-3 is really good for your brain development. So your diet also is something that will help in coping strategies or helping to deal with the mental illnesses.
Mm. And in cases of mental illness, what role does early intervention play in helping children receive effective treatment and minimize long term effects?
Early intervention is so key. First of all, your treatment will be better if it's dealt with from an early onset. If you delay diagnosing, the condition can develop into other conditions. You can get comorbidities from the mental illnesses. So, for example, comorbidities like a child then having ADHD or having ODD or having anxiety disorders or becoming aggressive is a comorbidity of a mental illness that's not treated. So early intervention not only ensures that your child gets adequate treatment, it also ensures that they get the right diagnosis and ensures that they can recover, because like any other illness, when you get the right treatment, you do recover.
Hmm. I mean, having to deal with a child that has, mental illness can be something that's very overwhelming. So, what advice would you have for parents or educators that are dealing with a child that is experiencing mental illness and they are unsure about, how to support the child during this time?
Mm. So, first of all, I think what we need to understand is that mental illness is like physiological illness. So, when your body is sick, you go out and you get help for it. It is the same with mental illness. You go out and you get help for it. Now, how to cope with it is first of all, get knowledge on whatever it is you are dealing with or what your child is presenting with. Get a support group where you can share your experiences and learn from other people's experiences. But more than anything, read up and know about the condition so that you treat it right. Sometimes we delve in without even thinking, and then we do the wrong thing and we make the condition worse. Also, reassuring yourself and your child that, you know what, this is a disease, it can be treated, and there's nothing wrong with it. So, having normal conversations, taking away the stigma, breaking away the denial patterns, and just accepting what it is and learning how to deal with it. I think that would really help.
Mm, definitely. Now, Nolene, breaking the news to a child or trying to have a conversation with them about the fact that they may be experiencing mental illness, is a very difficult conversation to have. And a lot of people might not know where to start or go about it. What
Mm.
advice would you provide us with in terms of how parents and educators can start that conversation with their children?
You know, I love that question because I love to use analogies on how to deal with things. So, the one analogy I will always use is your feelings are sick. The same way your body gets sick, you get a cold, you get a running stomach, and you go to a doctor, and the doctor will help you with that. There's also a doctor for your feelings, right? And your feelings sometimes need help. So, in some instances, you could say that your brain is like an alarm that goes off all the time, and we need to go to the doctor to help put the alarm off because it can go off when nothing is wrong. So explaining to your child that there is nothing wrong with you, this is a disease like any other, taking away that stigma, like I said, and then explaining that we are dealing with your feelings and correcting your feelings. Now, we also need to consider what age group we are talking to. So, if you're talking to a toddler, it would be easy to talk about your feelings are sick. But when you go into your teen years, then you need to start explaining that it is your mind that is unwell, but your mind can also get help, and that there is nothing wrong with it, and that I am here to support you. So use a very specific language that is age appropriate. Be very clear. Don't go into medical jargon that they won't understand, because as clear as you are is as clear as they receive it.
Mm. I mean, that was such a great way of maybe explaining it to say your feelings are sick. I don't think I would have thought of something like that. That's why you are a specialist in the field because I think a lot of people would struggle to put it into context, especially speaking
Mm,
to someone that's very young, because you sometimes overthink what you need to say because you just like, are they even going to grasp what I'm trying to
mm,
say? But I think what you have mentioned to say your feelings are sick, that kind of language is more child appropriate, and I think they may be able to understand better what they are
mm.
going through. And now let's talk about the importance of raising awareness of, especially mental illness amongst children. How important is it, and how can communities, educators, and everybody at large, show support and make sure that we are raising enough awareness amongst or in our communities about children's mental illnesses?
I think, first of all, our idiosyncrasy towards the disease or the mental health issues needs to change.
Mm.
We need to stop looking at it as something that's big, dark, scary, and black, but be more accepting of the illness. Understand that it is not a taboo, it is not a curse. So our approach needs to change, our myths need to change. So when we change the way we think about something, is we change the way we approach it. So first of all, when we accept that these diseases happen, and we accept that we cannot do anything to prevent them from happening in terms of when you are pregnant or when you are having your child. Then we raise awareness by talking about it more, having open conversations about it. I feel like if we look at groups like our religious groups and our medical groups and the society at a large, and as we come together to discuss this disease and make it normal, then it's easier for the person who is battling at home, who is even afraid. Because for some mental illnesses, people are told that it's a curse, and it's not a curse. But once you're told you have a curse, you will never open up about it. So if we change our approach, like I said, if we change our thought pattern towards this and look at it the same way we look at a cough, or we look at a serious illness that we go to the hospital for, then it's easier for us to tackle it. It's easy to tackle something that you do know. Also, openly having conversations in our personal groups. So conversation, sometimes we can talk about our shoes and our hair, but let's also talk about the emotional well-being of our children and
Mm.
how we are feeling, because when we can talk about how we feel, we can open up about the things we're experiencing. And I had touched earlier on support groups. They're so important. But
Mm.
also, more than that, there's helplines that we can use. There's chatbots that we can use, that where we can just send a WhatsApp and talk about, listen, I need help with A, B, C, D, and you will get a response.
Mm.
So in the schools, let's incorporate it more. In our churches, in our social clubs, in our environments of leisure, let's talk about mental illnesses, and let's talk about them being normal. Let's normalize them.
Mm. Now, Norleen, as we wrap up our beautiful discussion tonight, what key message would you like to leave our viewers with before we let you go?
I want to leave the message that, mental illness is as important as a physical illness. Your physiological and your psychological are equal, and therefore we should put it upon ourselves to learn more about these diseases and to actually have the tools to deal with them, to find out what's happening in the world around us, and to care a little bit more. Let's try as much as we can to help our neighbor who's struggling, to look at our children and look out for those signs. When you know your child and you know what's happening, it's easy to pick up anomalies. But when you don't know your child and you don't pay attention, you won't see that your child is sleeping extra. You won't see that your child is moody. Neither will you see that your child is very teary. And those are all alarming signs. So let's pay attention and let's get knowledge on these diseases.
Mm, most definitely. I mean, Nolene, thank you so much for just sharing with us the importance of mental illness, especially amongst young children, and how educators or people that are caregivers, to children can actually be more attentive so that they can early detect or see early that the
Mm.
children might be struggling. So thank you so much for all the knowledge that you have shared with us tonight.
Thank you as well for having me.
Thank you so much. Viewers at home, that was Norleen Zulu, who is an early childhood development specialist. And she was just discussing with us the importance of mental illness and kids and how we can identify it. But without wasting any time, let's go to a quick break. We'll see you right after this.